I watched him stop breathing. Xiao Zhan'S raw interview leaves host in tears. The lights were dim, the cameras rolling, and for once, the ever-collected Xiao Zhan looked like a man haunted. Sitting across from a visibly emotional host on a special late-night segment of Heart to Heart, Xiao Zhan wasn't there to promote a film or smile politely through rehearsed questions. He was there to tell the world what really happened the night he thought he lost Wang Yibo forever. And he didn't hold back. It started with a sound I never want to hear again. The audience was dead silent as Xiao Zhan took a deep breath. His hands trembled slightly as he recalled the harrowing moment from just weeks ago. The scene he painted was almost too vivid. He had been dizzy all day. I told him to rest, but he didn't listen, Xiao Zhan said, voice cracking. He said, "Don't worry, Zhan'Ji, I'm just tired. Let's finish this." But something about the way he smiled, it wasn't right. Xiao Zhan paused, pressing a hand against his eyes as if trying to block out the memory. I turned my back for literally 30 seconds. I heard something crash behind me. I spun around, and he was on the ground. He looked up, eyes glassy. Wang Yibo wasn't breathing. A room full of chaos. Crew members screamed. Someone knocked over a light stand trying to call for help. But Xiao Zhan couldn't hear any of it. All I remember was the sound of my own heartbeat and this weird ringing in my ears. I dropped to my knees and tried to get him to respond. The host covered her mouth, clearly struggling not to break down herself. They said I kept yelling his name. But I don't remember that. What I do remember is how cold his hand was. The moment everything changed. Xiao Zhan revealed something no one knew before. I started CPR, he admitted. I don't even know how I remembered the steps, but I did. I just kept doing it, even after the medic pulled me back. The host whispered, "You thought you lost him." He nodded. They told me later he stopped breathing for almost 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That was all it took to permanently etch a line between who Xiao Zhan was before and who he is now. The viral video that broke the nation. What no one expected was the leaked footage. A crew member's phone video, never meant to go public, was posted online just hours after the collapse. In it, Xiao Zhan was seen on his knees beside Yibo, sobbing, screaming, and praying out loud in a voice so raw it barely sounded human. It reached over 50 million views in less than 24 hours. People saw that video and said I was weak, Xiao Zhan said. But they didn't see what happened afterward. He leaned forward. They didn't see the ambulance doors slam shut, with him inside. And me on the pavement, begging them not to take him if they couldn't promise he'd make it. Hospital hallways and heart-stopping hours. At the hospital, things went from bad to worse. They wouldn't let me into the emergency room. I tried to push past them. I screamed, I threatened to call lawyers. I didn't care. I just wanted to be with him. 4 hours, Xiao Zhan sat outside the ICU with Yibo's blood on his shirt, his hands, and even his face. He refused to speak to anyone. When doctors finally emerged, their expressions weren't reassuring. They said it was neurological. They didn't know if he'd wake up the same person. Xiao Zhan was silent after that. The host let the silence sit for a long moment. Then she softly asked, "What was the first thing he said when he woke up?" A faint smile tugged at Xiao Zhan's lips, even as his eyes filled again. He looked at me, and whispered, "You cried." A relationship under scrutiny. The emotional weight of the interview intensified when the host carefully addressed the elephant in the room, their relationship. The public had speculated for months that the bond between Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo went far beyond friendship. After a pause, Xiao Zhan responded, "I'm not here to define anything. Not today. What I will say is, when you hold someone's lifeless body in your arms, nothing else matters. Not what the world thinks. Not what labels they give you." He looked directly into the camera. "All that matters is that they come back to you. Flashbacks, recovery, and guilt." Xiao Zhan admitted he hasn't slept through the night since that day. He wakes up multiple times, haunted by the image of Yibo's body convulsing before going completely still. "I sleep with the hospital monitor sounds still ringing in my ears," he said. "There was this one night, I heard a flatline sound in my dream. I woke up screaming and ran to check on him, even though he was in another wing. The nurses didn't even question it, they just let me sit with him. The guilt eats away at him. I keep thinking, I should have seen it coming. The fatigue, the dizzy spells, the memory lapses. He was scared but trying to hide it. And I let him. What comes next? Xiao Zhan'S team has suspended all his upcoming projects indefinitely. Wang Yibo is still under intensive care but has reportedly regained full consciousness. They are not taking visitors, and their management has refused further comments. Still, rumors swirl. Some say they're planning to leave the industry altogether. Others claim Xiao Zhan is preparing to relocate abroad with Yibo once he's stable. When asked directly, Xiao Zhan didn't confirm or deny anything. All I know is this, he said with finality. The next time he stops breathing, I don't think I'll survive it. Final moments of the interview. The interview ended with Xiao Zhan reading from a personal journal entry he had written the night Yibo finally woke up. His voice shook as he read. You scared me. You broke me. But you came back. I don't care how long it takes, how broken we are, or what the world says, I'm staying right here. Breathing with you. For you. As the host silently cried, Xiao Zhan wiped his own eyes, stood, and exited the set without another word. The audience, production crew, and the world watching were left shaken. And deeply moved. The cameras stopped rolling. The lights dimmed. But for Xiao Zhan, the weight of what he had just said in that heart-wrenching interview stayed like a bruise beneath his skin, deep, unseen, but excruciating. As crew members quietly dispersed, unsure how to approach him, Xiao Zhan remained seated in the empty studio. Still. Silent. Unblinking. A stagehand offered him water. He didn't even notice. Because in his mind, he was right back there that moment Wang Yibo's chest stopped moving beneath his hands. He was already cold. What the audience didn't see in the televised interview was the raw aftermath once the lights went off. Alone in the dressing room, Xiao Zhan broke. His assistant, Li Wei, found him curled on the floor, his face buried in his arms, shoulders shaking violently. I don't care how strong he pretends to be, Li Wei later told a close friend, Zhongji is shattered. He keeps reliving it, that exact second he thought Yibo had slipped away. Xiao Zhan had whispered to himself, he was already cold when I touched him. That's not something you ever forget. Yibo's first full sentence. Though he had opened his eyes days ago, Wang Yibo hadn't spoken more than a few fragmented words until last night. A nurse walked into the room and found Xiao Zhan fast asleep, slumped beside Yibo's bed, his head resting on the mattress, one hand clutching Yibo's. She was about to adjust the four when a faint voice broke the silence. Tell him. I heard him crying. The nurse froze. Her eyes filled. Who, dear? She asked gently, unsure if Yibo was awake or dreaming. Xiao Zhan, he murmured again. He thought I couldn't hear him. But I did. That single moment sent shockwaves through the hospital staff. Within minutes, Xiao Zhan was woken, and when their eyes met, neither said a word. They didn't have to. The relief, the pain, the soul-deep fear, it was all written on their faces. Don't leave me again. According to a staff member who witnessed the reunion, Xiao Zhan didn't speak immediately. He simply climbed into the bed beside Yibo, carefully, mindfully, as if afraid one wrong move would break him. He rested his forehead against Yibo's and whispered, Don't leave me again. Yibo, still weak, smiled faintly. I tried not to. And then they lay like that for nearly an hour. Breathing. Together. Alive. The flashbacks he can't escape. Despite Yibo's slow improvement, Xiao Zhan's psychological scars haven't healed. At night, he jolts awake gasping. Staff have had to check his vitals more than once, believing he was having a medical emergency. He sees it every time he closes his eyes, one of the hospital counselors shared. The sound of the heart monitor flatlining that haunts him. He hears it in his dreams. And worse, he hears Yibo's silence. Doctors have advised trauma therapy, but Zhan refuses to leave the hospital. Even for a day. I wasn't there the first time he collapsed, he told a nurse. I won't make that mistake again. The letter that was never meant to be read. Among Yibo's belongings was a crumpled note. Dated a week before his collapse. Scribbled at 3:42 a.m. If anything happens to me, tell Zhan'Ji I meant to tell him sooner. That I knew. About how he looks at me. About how I look at him. I knew it all. I was just scared to say it out loud. But if this ends before I say it, please let him know. I felt it too. When Xiao Zhan found it, he didn't speak for an hour. Just sat beside Yibo's bed, staring at the words. Later, he folded it, placed it in his wallet, and said quietly, "Now I'll never stop fighting for him." A nation holding its breath. Fans have organized vigils outside the hospital. Hundreds gather nightly, holding candles, singing softly, leaving messages taped to the glass entrance. One letter read, "You showed us love doesn't always need words. It just needs breath. Keep breathing, both of you." Even reporters who once hounded them for clickbait are now silent, moved by the magnitude of what this has become. This is no longer just a celebrity story. It's a human one. Yibo's recovery and the unspoken confession. Doctors remain cautious. Wang Yibo's neurological state is stable but delicate. He still tires easily, and his short-term memory occasionally fades. But when Xiao Zhan enters the room, one thing is certain: he remembers him. One afternoon, nurses heard Xiao Zhan softly playing the piano in Yibo's room, the same piece they once danced to during a rehearsal break 2 years ago. Yibo, eyes closed, hummed along. When Zhan stopped playing, Yibo opened his eyes and whispered, "You always were the melody I never deserved." Xiao Zhan looked at him and said, voice steady for the first time in days, "But I'm staying anyway." What comes next? Neither of them have returned to public life. No press statements. No photo ops. Just recovery, quiet, real, and painfully raw. Yet behind closed doors, something is shifting. Something soft. Something fragile. Something that may no longer hide behind silence.